Expo Minority Small Business Series presented by KeyBank. Today's topic is upping your digital game to combat COVID-19. My name is Alice Watson, and I will be your host for this afternoon's session. Indiana Black Expo is celebrating 50 years as an organization. For 50 years, IBE has provided technical support, resources, training, and procurement opportunities for small and minority businesses to help build capacity. This work would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Please help me thank our presenting sponsor, KeyBank, for their sponsorship and community services for small businesses. Also, we'd like to thank AT&T, Carrier, Cummins, Delta Faucet, the Indianapolis Airport Authority, One America, Visit Indy, and Indianapolis Power and Light. We'd like to also thank our series partners whose commitment to supplier diversity and the support and sustainability of small businesses is an ongoing commitment. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the Indiana Small Business Development Center, the Indy Chamber, the Indianapolis Recorder, Engaging Solutions, Indiana Department of Workforce Development, the City of Indianapolis, the Indiana Department of Transportation, the Indiana Department of Administration, and of course, last but not least, the state of Indiana. Today, before we start, I have a few housekeeping rules for you. First, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box, and we will be sure to answer as many of those questions as possible. Also, towards the end of the session, there will be a link to the session survey in the chat box. We ask that you fill out the survey so that we can assist you with planning future webinars. At this time, I would like to introduce today's panelists. With us today is Ms. Morgan Allen, who is from the Indiana Small Business Development Center, Program Administrator. Ms. Kathy Burnett, North Central Indiana Small Business Development Business Advisor and business owner of Brain Lair Books. I hope I pronounced that right, Kathy. Ms. Nicole Kearney, writer, inventor, and owner of Sip and Share Wines, and Mr. Marshall, founder of CEO, Shout Studios. Today, we're going to have each panelist provide a brief overview of themselves, the services that they provide, their journey as it relates to the topic in the digital landscape, and any other information that you think would be important to share with our viewers this afternoon. Our first panelist today is Ms. Morgan Allen.
Thank you, Alice. I really appreciate it. And welcome again to today's session, Upping Your Digital Game to Combat COVID-19. As Alice mentioned, my name is Morgan Allen. I am the Small Business Program Administrator for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, or SBDC. We are a no-cost service that's available to any new or existing small business within the state of Indiana. We have 10 regional offices across the state that provide that service. And what we can offer one-on-one business advising that covers a vast majority of topics, including startup assistance, assistance accessing capital, disaster planning, which is ever prevalent today, and then digital marketing assistance. So what the topic of the conversation is going to be today. We also offer training. So pretty commonly we offer a Launch Your Own Business series. I think we have offered that on this Indiana Black Expo series in the past, and that's something we also offer in our regional offices. So how I fit and how the Indiana SBDC fits into this conversation today is our program called Project Hope. And so Project Hope is a partnership between the Indiana Small Business Development Center and the Indiana University Kelley School of Business based in Bloomington. Through this program, we offer no-cost assistance to help small businesses establish or increase their online presence through website development, e-commerce, and other digital tools. This program pairs up eligible small businesses with MSIS interns within the Kelley School of Business to complete a 2-week digitization project. So most frequently that has been in the form of website development, which is what we're going to talk about today. And to date, we have assisted over 150 small businesses located in 38 counties throughout the state of Indiana. And over 125 students have worked on this project, volunteering over 15,000 hours to help assist small businesses. So as I mentioned, this is a statewide program, so it's not geographically focused, but there are a few eligibility requirements that you have to meet in order to participate. One is that you have to either be or become a client of the Indiana SBDC. That's really easy. You just complete a digital form and then meet with one of our business advisors for at least 30 minutes. And in that meeting, we will work with you to figure out what your digital needs are and make sure that Project Hope is a good fit for you and your business. You also had to have been in business as of February 15th, 2020. So this is a disaster recovery program. So unfortunately, we can't help people start a business. We have to help people recover from the impact of COVID-19. And the last one that I'll highlight is you have to be able to demonstrate a negative impact from COVID-19. Unfortunately, I think the mass majority of small business owners within the state could do that. And it's not anything formal. It's just you signing a document that says, yes, I've been negatively impacted by COVID-19. So after we wrap up today, you will get a follow-up email that includes our flyer with all the program information and a link to our public-facing application. So it is a really easy application, and that will connect you with one of our 10 regional offices throughout the state. And then, like I said, you'll just have that initial meeting with them, and then we can get you plugged into the program. So we are very, very thankful to have great partners with the Indiana University Kelley School of Business. And we look forward to serving you and to continue serving our community. So Kathy, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Everyone, I'm Kathy. I do all of what Morgan talked about. I do those services with you, whether it's one-on-one, on the phone, helping you start your business, helping you get certified. But one of the main things I work on right now is the Project Hope program that Morgan mentioned. I am the Project Hope liaison between our offices and the Kelley School of Business. So once you fill out that form saying that you need some help, it gets sent to our offices and we take a look at it. And then if you meet all the eligibility requirements, I send you a little note. If you are not a client of ours, you fill out a form and say, I want to become a client. Then I have a meeting with you and we kind of talk about, why do you think you need a website? What is your business doing now? How will this website help your business? Who will maintain the website? And just what is one major problem that you think having this website will help you solve? Especially with, like Morgan said, we're in recovery. How will this help you recover? I mean, how will it help you do your job better? And so I talk you through that. It takes maybe half hour, 45 minutes, depending on what your answer is. And then I send your request to the Kelley School of Business. They contact you and schedule a time for you to meet with them. Now, the thing about that, it is a 2-week, very, very fast process. So you have to be committed to getting this website done and having it finished before, so that you can move into this next quarter on track. You do most of this over the phone. You need to have some information for them because they're not going to do this for you. They're going to do this with you. So you need to provide them information to make sure that they could do the best job they can for you. Right. And I'm going to turn this over to Nicole, who has used Project for what she can share.
Hello, and today is Thursday, so happy Thursday, everyone. I'm Nicole Kearney, and I am the winemaker and founder of Sip and Share Wines, also a writer, so I just want to say I'm loving all the books behind you, Kathy. And so I got into the Project Hope program, and I just found out recently that I was one of the first individuals outside of the pilot program who was outside of the initial pilot program who received the services. So that's super exciting. And when I was approached, we knew we wanted a website overhaul. So I would say, think about what you want done for your business. We were already operating in the e-commerce space. We did have a website that was up, but it was one I did. So admittedly, it was rough, but it did what it needed to do. And so one of the things I wanted to be sure that it did, one of the things I heard from many of our customers, they wanted it ease of use. So we had a 3-click system. You went in, you saw wine, you clicked that wine, you checked out, entered your information, and you paid and you were done. But one of the most amazing things that they did, the Kelly School of Business did for us, was they gave us a beautiful, sleek design. It's very modernized. It looks like a truly professional website. But one of the interesting things is we talked about, what do our customers want? And so when I looked at our website being built from a customer perspective, I just had all the wines there, but they wanted to know, always got emails or texts. We got, what is your sweet? What is your dry? So one of the things that our team did was they took that information and they created this beautiful front page, and it just says, I'm in the mood for, and then there's boxes that actually have sweet, dry, red, white. So it's super easy for someone who's not well-versed in wine, which is one of the things we are passionate about, creating community with our wine for wine lovers who've been underrepresented and overlooked in the wine industry. So typically people may not have a tremendous amount of knowledge. So it makes it super easy. You go in, you say, hey, I want sweet wine today. Oh, I want dry wine. You click it, it gives you the menu of the wine, then you can read the descriptions. So that was super helpful just in how our website interfaced with our customers. But I'll reiterate what Kathy said. You have to be ready as a business owner, entrepreneur, to be interactive with your team. We met with our team about 2 to 3 times a week by Zoom. They gave us feedback. They asked us questions. We had to send them information by email after our initial meeting. There were other documents they asked for us, what photos, they sent us photo suggestions. We wanted to make sure our website was truly representing people, Black and brown people. So we work with them to find those images. And then they were very helpful in us building a whole back end wholesale site, which was amazing. Still don't know how they did it, but love it. It works. And so everything that we asked for, they were able to accomplish in that 2 week. I think we did a week and a half. So we really humped it out. So I tell people, just write down your ideas. They will send you an email and ask you, what do you want to do? I say, before you just randomly just fill it out, really take a moment, take a day or two, think about it, ask your customers how they interface with your website and how your website would best benefit them, because that was the best thing we did. And then when we debuted it and had people look at it, they were like, this is so easy. So the ease of use on the back end, I mean, we put our website up, we just put a screenshot and said, hey, we have a new website. And when I tell you, that was our highest ranked post in like a month. And people really went and looked at it and then gave feedback in the comments. It was amazing. I'm like, it's a website. But people were like, oh my gosh, it's easy. We actually got orders from people who had never ordered because they were like, oh, yeah, I want a red wine. Click, click, click. 3 clicks and they're out. So as you can see, I'm a huge advocate and fan for the Project Hope. I've been sending the email to people, the link to get involved. So I say, get involved. Get this service. It's free, y'all. Free, free, free. And when I tell you, this is a $2,000 to $4,000 value. Y'all hear me? $2,000 to $4,000 value. And you get it done for free in a week and a half, and you're up and running e-commerce, especially now that is critical during these times of the pandemic and the unknown. So thank you for that opportunity to share.
I am Marsh Williams. I'm the founder of Shout Out Studio. We're a digital marketing firm, and we work specifically with small businesses. That's why we created our company. The other partners and I come from organizations and agencies that done other things, but we had seen so many instances where small businesses were investing very precious dollars and not getting what they paid for. And being a very firm believer in the importance of small business. Small businesses make our cities, they make our communities, they make our neighborhoods. Small businesses are what employ people locally. Those jobs never get sent overseas. They become the hubs of everything great about our cities and the communities in which we live. So we're huge proponents of that. In terms of what we do, we built websites, we've run digital marketing campaigns, help clients either run their social media for them or taught them how to do it themselves. Those are all critical skills going forward. When we get a little further into this, I've got one slide, only one slide, but it's 6 things that you can start doing today that are actionable, that you can actually move into and start benefiting your business now. One of the things I want to mention is branding. We had some questions about branding and other things, so we're going to touch on that also as part of those 6 points. So with that, yeah, I want to just tell Nicole, I mean, that story is phenomenal. One of the things we tell our clients, and it's really the bigger the client, the harder it is for them to understand, but the website's for your customers. It's not for you. And you nailed that. The website is all about what your customers want. And companies get caught up in, well, we want to tell them this, we want to tell them this, we want all this stuff you want to tell them. But the really valuable part is exactly what you did, Nicole, which is getting into understanding what your customers really want, because that's who the website's for.
We are absolutely customer centric, customer focused. So everything we do, all of our decisions, that's like our underlying value. What would the customers want? And I always look at it for like when I go somewhere, how do I want to be treated? So that's like our underlying thing, customer service. We are known for that.
Yeah, and that's just perfect. So let me ask you, what would you do now differently, having gone through this in Project Hope? What did you learn that you might approach a little bit differently, or what did you learn that you're going to carry with you going forward on this?
So I learned that myself and my team need to take a Shopify tutorial. Our website is on Shopify. We had a previous site that was on WordPress, which WordPress for e-commerce is not user friendly. I'll leave that statement there. And so we moved to Shopify because we needed we needed to not worry about the back end and all these things that, were going on and having to update every 2 days. So, but there's still a lot of things with Shopify we need to learn. And the IU team really was helpful. And they really gave us tips. And we now know there's an 800 number. You can call Shopify 24 hours a day. And ask them any questions, and they send you even videos, screenshots of how to do things. So that's something I would say, if we had known a little bit more how our website, how just the functionality of it worked on the forefront. If I could have thought of another thing while we were doing our process is SEO. I think that small business owners, we don't understand that enough. And so I probably would have added some SEO work into our website building and got those keywords. So that's something now we're trying to build into the program or into our website.
Nicole, you mentioned, sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
There are 2 things that she mentioned that I wanted to bring up. She said that you should have 3 clicks to get to customer where they want. And one of the things you should do is you should do like an organizational chart, but for your website. So you have your home page and what's each click that you want them to do. And then if you do the next level and then the 3rd level, so they get there, click, 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 you can tell what you need to get rid of. So do a site map, but do it like an organizational chart. And color the different levels so you know that it is 3 clicks. Everyone is used to getting things quickly, especially with the pandemic. So you need to up your business to make sure that you could do that. And then the second thing was Shopify. Shopify has a program called Compass. And if you use Shopify Compass, it's a bunch of little lessons that you could go through. And it starts from how to set up your online store, how to take pictures, how to market with it. It does all the little stuff back there. And it's free as long as you have Shopify. So you can go ahead and use Compass. It's an app you could also put on your phone.
And Nicole, you mentioned a really important thing that I forgot to highlight is that the purpose of Project Hope is to set you up for long-term success. So they aren't going to spend 2 weeks, create a website, and then completely leave you high and dry. They try to provide you with training and materials so that way the small business owner can maintain that website on an ongoing basis and feels comfortable doing so. One thing we have implemented, Nicole, since you went through the program is a check-in meeting. So 2 weeks after your project is completed, so once you have had some time to go in, play around with it, see if there are opportunities for additional assistance or training, the IU team and your SBDC advisor will follow up with you and say, hey, how's it going? How can we help you succeed? And so in that meeting, they can also provide you with additional training materials to set you up for success. But that's one thing that I personally love about the program, because I think we often hear from people that websites are too complicated and they don't know how to manage it, and they feel the need to go and hire a digital marketing firm to help them do that. And we want to set you up so that you are successful and you feel confident in managing your own website.
If I can, we've got a couple of questions here. I'm sorry, go ahead, Nicole, finish up, and then I've got something I'd like
I just want to say, my 2 team members that I saw that for us were Ethan and Justin. And I want to say they did exactly that. Even though we didn't know that was part of the program, they literally, after, they built the website, they were like, okay, let's follow up and make sure everything's okay. So we kind of did that informal follow-up. And there were a few things that I saw. I was like, okay, I'm not sure what this is. And literally, they were like, okay, give us a few days. And like in 10 minutes, they text me back and they were like, okay, so it's done. You can access that. So just the ease and flow of working with them. I mean, we were able to text. They ask you how you best want to communicate. So, yeah, so I didn't know that was part of it, but I think we created our own brand of follow-up. So my team members, I'm going to say, was the best team. I'm sure everybody says that about their team, but my team was the best team. I got the greatest and the best that IU Kelley School Business has to offer.
That's great. I want to back up because we're getting some questions, and I want to take things up to a higher level for a second. And for those of you who know this, we apologize because we don't want it to be too low, but at the same point in time, there are questions coming in that I think we need to do. When we talk about creating a website, there's effectively 2 ways to create a website. One is you hard code it, which is you hire a programmer and they write all this code. And every time you want to change it, you have to bring that programmer in or somebody with comparable skills. That's really a model from 10 years ago, but it astounds me how many of them are still out there. Yeah, everybody's shaking their head no and saying don't do that. The approach now typically for small businesses is using what's called a CMS, Content Management System. And those content management systems come in various forms. Shopify is one that's specifically built for e-commerce. You may have heard of Wix. You may have heard of Squarespace. You may have heard of WordPress. While there are different levels and capabilities behind every one, each one of them has one thing in common, which is if you can essentially write an email, or if you can essentially write a document on a computer, then you're able to change the content in your website. It takes no programming skills. It does take some knowledge, but it does not take specialized skill. And so when we talk about that, that's one thing that's really important, particularly for small business owners. And some of the platforms like WordPress, I mean, companies like Ford Motor Company runs their website on WordPress. So it's a tool that can grow with you. And that's just something to know. The other thing that somebody asked about is SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And that's how you get found when somebody types a search into Google. And so that is really one of the key factors for small local businesses is that search engine optimization. And effectively, there are different philosophies. I don't know, Kathy and the rest of you, what you think about it. But if you're not on the first couple of pages of Google, you're invisible. If you're after page 2, I think I read a statistic that The first link in a search on Google gets 24% of the searches. And by the time you get down to the sixth link, they get 2% of the clicks. So the first six are the ones where really all of the clicks on the search engine is where everything is divided up. So Kathy, I don't know what your feeling is on that.
There's some different ways you can figure out your SEO keywords. So it's basically putting keywords as your title, as your header, so that when it's robot scans your page, it brings you up to the top because you have these keywords that people typed in your website somewhere. And one way to do that is you have Google Analytics. If you embed a Google tag or a little code you put in, and then it'll tell you what people search to get to your website. And you can use that. And you also have Google Admin. I'm a big Google fan, so that's just me. But I use Google My Business and I use Google Ad Manager. And those work together to help get the right words to say. It'll tell me how it's clicking. And then the last one is there's a free program. If you do sell a product, there's a free program through Google that's called Google Merchant. And when you search, you'll see those things at the top. Target has this, Walmart has this, Google has this, and it tells you the price of those items in different places. That is actually free advertising that you could get into. As long as you put in the keywords that Google tells, it'll walk you right through this spreadsheet you create. Your products could be right there at the top, and it does not actually cost any money to move your product up. And he's right. First page, it used to be 5 pages in, but again, we're a society that likes everything quickly. So now it's basically the first link. You could search a website and somebody else's website will come over it because that website paid the money to be up there with those keywords, while the actual website you need did not. And so it will be second and not first.
And I think the other thing is when you build a website, there's two pieces to it. There's the front facing piece, the graphic design, the products, the what we typically think of as the website. But on the back end is another website, so to speak, that Google and all the search engines and all the indexing tools see. And so you can have a website which is absolutely gorgeous and invisible in search engines because the person who did it may be a graphic artist, or you may not have dealt with SEO and other things. So just something to think about. If you guys don't mind, can I go to my little bullet points that may give us more things to talk about as we move into this? And again, if you have questions about specifics, about anything else, please give them to us, because one of the reasons we're here is to make sure that we answer all your questions and get you as much knowledge as you would like.
While you do that, there have been a lot of questions coming through the chat box. I've been trying to respond to them as they come up. But if you are wanting to see the program website, I've seen that come through a few times. The URL is now dropped into the Q&A chat box. So it is a website on the SBDC website that also includes the link to the application.
Yeah, Morgan, if we get more of those, the best thing to do may just be answer them on camera. If we do, that way we make sure that everybody gets the same information. So
do you want me to run through those questions that I've answered?
No, that's okay. We're good. Let me just show you this one slide and talk about a couple of things on it. So this, the goal of this again is to give you actionable things, and I'm interested to hear everybody else's opinion of this because we've had some lively discussions in our preparation about different styles and things ways of doing things. But these are just. The idea here is to give you 6 things you can do today to help yourself. And some of these are pretty rudimentary, but a lot of clients don't do, a lot of companies don't do them. The first one is your Google business page. Every business, whether you control it or not, in terms of the page, gets a Google business page. What's up there, you have control over. You can put your hours on it. You can put information on it. You can put pictures up. You can do all kinds of things. And that's typically when you do a search, what comes up on the left side is the information about a business in a box. And that's the Google Your Business page. It also is a great way to get people to go to your business. It will, depending upon how you have it set up, it will let people click and dial your phone number. It will let people click and go directly to your website, and it tracks those. We have a couple of clients who are not big businesses at all, and they're getting 2,000-3,000 searches a month for how do you get to their store, what's their phone number, that kind of thing. And the Google Business page also plays heavily into the reviews, which I'll talk about in a second. Having a website which is mobile friendly, or the technical term is responsive. A responsive website means that it rescales. So if somebody goes to it on a desktop, it looks one way. Somebody goes to it on their phone, it looks another way, and it's appropriately formatted for each device. There are some things here that are critical, just a couple of quick stats, but 60% of customers who go to a website on a phone, if that website isn't made for a phone, they're not going to go back. And that's a pretty big stat. And we see clients now with 55-60% plus of their initial web traffic is from mobile devices. So that can be a big deal if you don't have it. Again, almost all the platforms we mentioned, the Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, WordPress will all accommodate this automatically. So you don't have to do anything. It's just a byproduct of using those platforms.
Can I just say, this is,
go ahead.
Before you move on the mobile responsive website, this is where you have to make sure you don't have it hard coded, because it will not be responsive when you move it. The container that they put it in will be too big for the screen. This is also when you test your website, you can see if you have too many pictures. And the robots don't really scan images unless you have the alt text in there. So you want to make sure that when the person looks at it on their phone, there's not too many strolls to get to the cart, to get to the search, to get to what they're looking for. So make sure you test that before you finish that.
Yeah, absolutely. And matching email address, this is a little thing, but when I get an email from a company that I'm trying to do business with, and even if it's their company name at Gmail or something, it immediately sends me a signal that they may not be that sophisticated. Getting a matching email address so that if your domain is cheaptennisballs.com, you get a domain name, you get an email that matches it. It's free marketing depending upon how many you have. I mean, our company probably sends, between our staff, we probably send 150, 200 emails out a day to various clients and various people for things. And every time we do, it puts our company name in front of them. So that's something to really consider. Online reviews. And anybody.
Can I stop you, Marsh, real quick?
Yeah, go.
Say that, to tag on to that. So that's, Kathy, I'm a Google advocate too. So that's part of you could get the G Suite. It's the easiest way to do that. And like you said, it does come embedded in a lot of the websites that you can use. And so it's $6 a month. And then you can do unlimited, what's called alias emails or extra emails. So you could be, like ours is Nicole@sipandsharewines.com. That's our main one. But then we have marketing and we have operations. So you can make multiple ones and just pay that one fee. And I know people are like, oh, that's, I got to pay money. But it is the most, I would say, probably one of the best $6 you can spend a month. So yeah, it's one of those things you should automatically do immediately, getting into business, because like you said, it gives you credibility. It lets people look at you in a different light.
Right.
Can I just, before you move, first thing I always tell my clients to do is you get your name. And then once you know what your name is, you go and get every social media account that matches your name, and you get the email that matches your name, and you get the domain that matches your name. I own the Brainlair, and I own Brainlair Books, because sometimes people call it the Brainlair Bookstore. So that way I can get both of those things in there. I own, for all the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever people think that they want to look at, I own the words Brainlair Books on all of those sites. So it's important that you make sure you get all of that in order and get it right away. Once you've set, just get it. I mean, you could always cancel if you decide to change your name, but you can't get it later if somebody else gets it. So do that.
Okay, I have to tag on to that story too. So when we first started our business, we used SIP and then the letter N. So this always confused people. We had to use the letter N. So SIP and share. And because someone else literally the same day registered SIP and the word and share. So, and then it was funny because someone came and asked right after we put up our Instagram, they said, well, what are we sipping and sharing? And again, and like you said, Marsh, in our mind, we knew, but in our customer's mind, that was a question. So that immediately put the word wines on the end of it. And so, but we had to wait a year to get that website. So our first website address we had on that, horrid WordPress, we had to wait. And so we had to put a watch notice out for that website. And we literally had to wait for someone not to pay to renew their domain. And we kind of knew who it was because we followed their Instagram account and they had been inactive for months. So we really had to wait and we had to go back and forth. And finally they just didn't, take it. And so we went ahead and we were like, we were just waiting, but we said, we'll just go get Sip and Share Wines with an S because we wanted Sip and Share Wine. But it served us better to have the S. But yes, like you said, Kathy, do it immediately. Something I wish we had done. It's worked out for us, but we had to move our whole website over. You have to do the whole redirect, which is a nightmare in itself. But yes, do it all. Like if you even think of the idea, just go get it everywhere you can get it just immediately. If it's in the middle of the night, wake up and do it.
That's great advice. And I got to say, I've done exactly the same thing. We have an idea for a new business or somebody comes to us and says, what about this? That's exactly the first thing we tell them is go lock up everything you can. Maybe it'll cost you $25, $30 for a year to lock it up. But it's worth every penny you spend on it. So just real quickly on online reviews, a couple of stats again. 88% of customers trust online reviews as much as they do as a personal recommendation. Online reviews can be a two-edged sword, and we can talk about that again with everybody in a second. But also 68% of customers will leave a review if they're asked. Oh, there's a typo. 68% of customers will leave a review if they're asked. And when you get reviews, positive or negative, respond to every single review you get. We talked about brand earlier. Be authentic. Do what you say. The essence of brand really is authenticity, but the only place your brand exists is in your customer's mind. You can put it out there, you can make it whatever you want to be, but your brand exists in the customer's mind. I had a dear friend at one time who came up with this saying, the next one, which is marketing is what you promise and brand is what you deliver. That brand experience, that customer service experience that Nicole talked about is absolutely critical. And then, the biggest competitive advantage you have is you. There are other companies doing what you do, but you are your biggest competitive advantage. So be authentic about that stuff. And then the last one is social. And it's just, social media is a conversation. It's not something where you just throw sales grenades at people all day long saying, come buy from us. We've got this product. That's not going to work. Social media is a way to engage with your customers, to listen to them, to tell them what you have, to inform, to answer questions. And if you listen carefully, you will learn an awful lot. So I'm going to stop sharing now and go back. But I just wanted to put those out there. And I don't know if you guys think I'm full of it or if you think there's any value there. But Nicole, what do you guys do with reviews? How do you handle reviews?
So we get a lot of them on our Facebook page. So we have a lot of engagement on our Facebook page. And then oddly enough, our Instagram page, we have a lot of engagement, but we get a lot of our more of our B2B work, our business to business work comes off of our Instagram page. So we are just now starting that concerted effort to try to get people to put their reviews on Google. We have some people who do it, who kind of understand the business, but now we're like you said, we're going to ask for them. Like, here's the link, on our page. click this link, make it super easy for people, click the link, and then just go put the review, because a lot of people write them in. And I'll tell people, even when they write them on your whatever your social platforms are, you cannot cut and paste them and put them on Google yourself. It doesn't work. And I know people have tried to do that, because the great thing about Google is whatever that person's icon or avatar is, that shows up next to their review. So that's why you can't, as a business owner, go and just put something on there. So I like that it does that vetting. So it's real simple to just follow up with the person, on whatever platform, and say, hey, would you do me a quick favor and drop that review right here? Add a contest to it, tell people, hey, we're going to give away whatever, enter you into a drawing for whatever if you go and put your Google review, and in a week we'll go look at all the reviews and we'll pick someone's name. So incentivize it for people. I mean, it takes a few minutes for them to do, but incentivize it for people. And like you said, they'll do it if you ask them. A lot of people, just because they're already doing it on your social platforms, you just want it, really coalesced in a place that, where it counts, like you said, where all the algorithms and everything is being read.
Well, if you go back to it, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
One thing that Google does is they will send you posters of your reviews, like of what people said. And you can post those around your shop if you have a shop, or behind you when you're on Zoom. But it's like the positive things that people said, you could get those printed out. Or you could probably print them out yourself and put a little picture under it. But I think you should have that. You should also have that on your website. You need to have that feed going into that so they can see that across the bottom. Have a way to do that. Have it on your receipts. And because everything is pretty much electronic, a lot of people opt for their receipts through their email or through their phone. Make sure there's a link on the receipt that they can click so they can do a quick review right there.
Yeah, we go ahead, Morgan. Sorry.
Kathy, you mentioned posting reviews on your website. And one thing I see that I'm like, oh no, why'd you do that? On a lot of small business websites is they will copy and paste a review from Google, but then they won't put the person's name. They'll leave it completely anonymous. And, I read that and I'm like, how do I know that Joe Schmo didn't just go ahead and...
Right.
Absolutely. So how is it a website plugin that you put the Google reviews on there? I think that would be helpful just to explain.
It would be a plugin, and obviously it depends on what platform you use. Like Marsh said, there's so many different platforms that you can get on. I would say a lot of them cost extra money for plugins, so you do need to determine which ones are more important to you. And some of them already have them built in. I think Wix has one because it has a customer management service behind the front, and so it may have one that could already put the reviews on there for you built in. But I would look at that because you want those testimonials. You want people to see what other people are saying about you because it adds to your credibility, which is what Marsh is trying to tell you. You want those reviews because it also brings you up, right? It moves your service up in front of people because you're the most reviewed, whatever it is you sell. Right there. And so that brings you up on that side where it says Google My Business. So, also just one more thing. You need to do Yelp also, not just Google My Business, do Yelp. And there's Bing, even though not many people use it, but Bing is your business. So if you upload that, it will actually put you on Bing search sites too. So when people are looking, I don't know why crazy people use Bing, but they do. If they were using a search on there, your information would come up.
Morgan, I know you have to jump off here in a little while, but one of the questions we're getting is, does the Project Hope, will it help with things like graphic design? Will it help with logo creation or branding elements and those kinds of things?
So that's a great question, and it initially did not, but the students were so excited about participating in the program that we were actually approached by the IU Media School as well. And they said, hey, we want to help too. How can we help support our small businesses? So now if you are wanting help developing social media, developing logos, developing online menus, an IU Media student can be looped into your team to help you with that. So the focus of the project does have to be, the website, the online development, but we can loop in a media school student to help with that kind of technical media work.
Okay. Are there any things they don't do? I mean, if anything, they'll just say no, that's not what we're covering.
So we haven't turned down a project yet. I will say that these students are very, very resilient and flexible, and we have found that whatever challenge we throw at them, they're like, okay, we will get it done. The students are really transparent about, in a meeting, if it's something that they don't feel is achievable within the 2-week time frame, they'll let you know. But then they'll also work with you to adjust that scope of work. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that because we haven't turned down a project yet.
That's a great answer.
Would love to see someone try.
The other thing about Google reviews or any reviews is we've seen people create just a little card about the size of a business card and give it to people or stack them on their counter or put it in a bag when somebody walks out with a product that says, please review us. And those, as Kathy was saying, those Google reviews help with your search engine optimization. The more reviews you have, the better they are, and the more current they are, the higher you rank against other local businesses. And then to sort of add the icing on the cake, there are some tools out there that you can use to manage reviews where, like Nicole was like, you can send an email through this tool to somebody and say, please give us a review, and you can, give them a link to your preferred platform. So it could be Google and Yelp and Facebook or whatever. They can leave those reviews. And the cool thing is, if somebody starts to leave you a negative review, so if it's under 4 stars, that email will actually come back to you rather than go to the posting to the review website. So it gives you a chance to get in front of something that may have gone up as a bad review, and be able to address it with that customer. Google reviews, one bad review will deter up to 30 customers. And a bad review is 3 stars or less on Google. The companies where customers will search that, if it's below 4 stars, they probably won't even consider the company unless that's their only option. If you have bad reviews, the only way to negate them is get more good reviews. Getting Google to remove a review, unless it is threatening or something else, is absolutely impossible. They will not do it. We had a client one time with a customer who somebody had never done business with this client ever. And somebody left them a bad review on Google, and Google said, sorry, it's a legitimate review. We're going to leave it there. And so it is important to respond to those reviews. I don't know what your experiences are, but.
I would say, Marsh, what you said earlier, respond to every one of them. So even if it is, someone that didn't do business, there's a way to go and address that on the review. And even maybe, I've seen review comments where people have, really converted someone into a client, whether it's, we'd love for you to try our products, and here's a 5% off code. And then once you try it, why don't you come back on and let us know, and update us. So there is sometimes a way to stem that tide, because sometimes someone else will tell a friend about their experience. That friend may not want to take the time to do a review. However, that friend may go actually do the review. So we've had that happen. Fortunately, it wasn't in a form of a written review, but we had someone else come tell us an incident that occurred at an event, but the event hostess didn't. And so we just offered her, we always ask, how can we make it right by the customer? So that is our thing. How do they feel it will be right? Because what I say may not be what will make it right to you. So it's always what do you want us to do to make it right by you? And then if it doesn't, if it's too far left, then we can kind of meet in the middle.
Morgan, what do you see happening with Project Hope? Where does it go? I mean, how many companies have you guys worked with? How many do you want to work with? Is this something that's just COVID related, or do you think it will continue?
So as of right now, it is COVID related. The Indiana SPDC received some CARES Act dollars that's helping fund this program. So it's very specific to disaster recovery. But we have supported over 150 projects to date, and it's continuing to grow. When I looked this morning, we had just over 300 applications for service. So people that have applied but haven't yet gone through the program yet. And it's only going to continue to grow. So what we have said internally and what we would love to do is to continue to fund this project so long as the demand exists. And I don't see the demand disappearing anytime soon, unfortunately. So we are actively looking for sponsors to help continue this program and are really eager to get some more players at the table so we can continue to offer this no-cost service.
What's the most fun you've had working in it?
So I get the survey results every single phase, so every 2 weeks. And one tore at my heartstrings. It was a business that had actually announced that they were closing and then had been accepted into the program about a week later and said, oh, you know what, I'll go ahead and give it a go. And so they went through the program not really expecting much. But then they ended the program, made their first online sale, and have decided to reopen their business. And now they are sustaining their business with online sales for the first time ever. And, you know, things like that.
That's awesome.
That's what we do this for. That's why we're all public servants and why we want to help people. And so I would love to continue doing that.
We had a couple of people come in late and they're asking just some basic information of how do they apply to the program again, and is there a cost? If you could kind of run over that again real quickly before you hop off.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a no-cost program. There are a few eligibility requirements. So you have to be or become a client of the Indiana SPDC, which is really easy to do. You had to have been in business as of February 15th, 2020. And you also have to certify that you've been negatively impacted by COVID-19. You will receive a follow-up email after this webinar that includes a one-pager of information and also the application link. It's a really easy application, and that just goes to our regional offices so that you can have a 30-minute eligibility meeting just to make sure that this is the right fit for you. I did see one question come in. They said that they weren't in business as of February 15th, 2020. What's available to me? So unfortunately, at this point in time, this program you would not be eligible for. But I think Kathy will go over this a little bit later. It's on our list of questions. You are eligible for other SBDC services. So one-on-one business advising, training. I looked on our website, and our West Central office, for example, is hosting a series of online digital marketing trainings that anyone can attend at no cost. So how to develop a Wix site, how to set up your Google My Business storefront. So you do have other options, and I'll let Kathy get into those a little bit later.
Okay.
I have one question, Morgan. Can you come back through if you've already been through as a business?
So unfortunately not. We have to serve the maximum amount of people possible. Someone did ask, they were a serial entrepreneur, and they said, well, technically, can each of my businesses go through the program? And the answer is yes. So technically, the Indiana SBDC client is your business. So if you have 5 businesses, you can apply for service for all of them. But we do limit each business has 1 project so that we can serve the maximum amount of people possible.
Morgan, anything else before you hop off?
No, just thank you. I really appreciate you guys inviting me here today. I am not the marketing guru out of this group, so I hope you guys can continue the guru conversation after I hop off. But I'll just leave you with, this is a free program. So if you think it even has the potential to help your business recover or grow, apply. It doesn't hurt to meet with an SBDC advisor and to see if this is the right fit for you. And if Project Hope isn't the right fit, then hopefully your advisor can help identify other opportunities for growth. But I really appreciate it. You guys will also get my contact information, I believe, in the follow-up email. So please feel free to reach out if I can be a resource. And thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you, Morgan. We really appreciate it.
All right. Bye, guys.
Nicole and Kathy, can you guys talk a little bit about sort of making the pivot? We talked about this in our prep session the other day, and how having access to digital tools and the digital space allowed you to sort of make a pivot for COVID and do differently than you were doing before. Can you guys address that a little bit?
I will say I didn't really do so much as a pivot because I already had online businesses going. Because of the nature of what I do, most of my clients weren't in South Bend, they're online. So what I did was invest more in my online and try to build that up. And my biggest pivot was realizing I can't do all of this on my own. If I really want to make this part of it, I needed to hire some people to do that. One thing I try to tell people is to think of 4 different things that might spin from this idea that you have as your job. Like, what could be a different revenue stream? How could this look if it was digital? How could it look if you had to go somewhere? What would it look like if this was a situation? Try to figure out what are different ways you could do this one thing you're doing and slightly twist it to make it work in other avenues. And so for me, it was, I do a lot of work with schools, so I should be reaching out more to schools. And when my website's done, it will have forums on it so that people can just ask for the services right there on the form.
Nicole?
So like Kathy, Sip and Share Wines was already online. We had a website that was up pre-pandemic. However, our primary mode of business, we traveled. We did festivals, we did pop-ups and events all over the country. So that was really how people were introduced to our wine. They got to try it before they buy it. And then, of course, COVID happened right when festival season was about to kick off. So we had kind of already made up in our mind as a business that we did want to generate more online traffic in 2020. And so COVID kind of helped us actually meet those goals, unfortunately. But so having a more streamlined website, like I said, that was sleeker and easier for the customer to interface with, that really did generate more business for us. Because like I said, we had the same website pre-COVID. And people came and people bought bottles, but we always kind of got questions and we had to tweak stuff and we had to go in and figure out, oh, why didn't this work? But once we got the redo, and everything was revised and refreshed, it just seemed like people were like, oh yeah, this is easy. And we get that a lot from people, like, it's so easy to order. Like, all we need to do is just go in and click, click, click. So I tell people, really think about, again, like I said, how your digital tool, your website serves your customer, not what you want it to do, what your customer needs. And so ask your customer that. Ask those questions. If you don't have a website, ask people, how do they want to engage with your product online? If you have one, still ask that same question and make those modifications and just make it easier for your customer to do business with you. Like you said, even on the Google tools, we updated our business hours. So I know a lot of people think those things are static, but you have to keep in mind, you need to make sure those things are updated. When COVID hit, we don't have a tasting room. So our traveling was, the tasting room was the world, the country. So we had to go in and then make some adjustments. We offered free delivery. So we needed to let people know how they could, access that. So I think just giving people that information and wherever they're going to get it, your Google, your social platforms, and keeping all of that up to date, freshen it. If your hours, like Indiana, we just went back, we're now at stage 5. So everything's open. So if you're going to be open, spend some time here the next few days updating all of your information, how your business has now changed for stage 5, or if you're staying the way you are. So I think that's really key, especially when people go on Google. Number one complaint I've heard people say is people's Google, my business presence is just not updated. So they don't know, or they call the numbers not the right number, or the hours, and that goes across any platform, your Facebook, Instagram. If your business says you're open Monday from 6 to 2, and I call you at 4 or not 4, at 1, and you're not open, I'm probably not going to come back and do business with you. I don't want to have to physically get in my car and drive to where you exist to find out, oh, you actually aren't now open on Mondays anymore because you didn't update it. So that's something critical in communicating digitally to your customers.
One thing we did too, and I think I saw this on your site too, is we went virtual with some of our activities. So we switched to virtual book clubs. I also did private viewings. So when Little Fires Everywhere came to Hulu, I had a special Zoom. It was called Wine and Chill. So you could sign up. I would deliver a bottle of wine and the book to you, and then you had a link where we all got on at the same time. We're watching the show, and we're just like chatting about it. And there's a couple of different programs you could have to do that. And I think Netflix has a watch party. So it's like having a watch party, but private. And so I did a lot more of that, and I have been doing a lot more of this. People who want me to come on their podcast, people who want me to do that, which I didn't do before because I was running the store and doing this. I do that now. Everybody who asks, basically, if it fits in with my mission, I'm on there. That's one thing I had to redefine too. I read this book called Story Brand by Donald Miller, and I worked through the whole thing and got my new story of what people might be looking for when they come talk to me, because I specialize in inclusive books, and how do I answer these questions for them so that they don't have to go looking, and they also don't feel embarrassed about asking these. Is already right there for your whole experience in an independent bookstore be slightly available through the internet, which is hard to do. But we knew we couldn't recreate the exact thing, but what could we do to make this more fun and more interactive? I had 4 events this month that were online, and I had the author of the book plus a friend of theirs, because then you're going to get this conversation that's more fun than if it's just me asking you questions. So they were reading, they were laughing, they were talking, and the chat was going. So I think about how you could do that. What is your business? Oh, you plan parties? Could you plan a party in 5 different places? So you have the host, but then 4 of their friends, and you deliver the same things to each house for decorations, and then you give them a link, and they all get online at the same time and chit chat. But but only one person, like you would not. They're not together, but they're doing it online together. Like, think about ways you could bring that online. I mean, you just really have to think different, like Apple used to say. You have to think different, think innovative. This is our time to innovate. We will never go back to 100% people walking around. It will never be like it was before. So think about what you want this to look like. What do people need from you now that they're in their house? What do parents need when they're at home with virtual learning? What do they need, and how do you give that to them in the most painless way possible?
And Kathy, I'll tag on to that. Oh, I'm sorry, Marsh.
No, I was just, go ahead. I want you to tag on, but then I want to ask you a related question too. So go ahead.
So we did home wine tastings prior to COVID. And of course, everything shut down. So that was a model that we couldn't do. So we pivoted as well to doing what we call SIP experiences. And those are interactive online wine tastings, and usually with a twist. So it could be wine, and we collaborate. Like Friday, we're doing sip and cigars. We're collaborating with a cigar maker. And so that's something we do that we've actually gone and done. And again, it meets the needs of our customer, because it's still us creating the community with the customer. It's meeting their needs. And for us, because we kind of schedule our travel, this year, 2020 was going to be our West Coast. 2019, we went East Coast. Well, COVID happened, so we couldn't go West Coast, but we were able to do, by just moving our SIP experiences back a couple hours, where Indianapolis, we would start them 5:30, or 6. But then we heard from people on the West Coast said, well, could you do it at 7 or 7:30? Because now it's 5:30 for them. And so just that simple thing. And then other people are like, yeah, we like it later, because now we fed the children, they're situated, the family's taken care of. It's not just like for them going from, if they're working or their children just finishing, school. So it gives everybody kind of that moment. And then West Coast people can join us. So we've been able to interact with wine lovers all across the country that we wouldn't been able to see otherwise in 2020. So that has been really great for us, like you said. And then just thinking of all the innovation, like we just put a list of what could we do that's sip and whatever. And so we just have a list of stuff and we're just like trying them. We're like, okay, we could do this. So sip and cigar. Okay, that works. Okay, now we've got, sip and paint, which everyone's really familiar with. And we do sip and pair. And so we're doing one of those in October. And the first one is vegan food, because all of our wines are vegan. So we're doing with a vegan chef, but we're also going to do with, non-vegan chefs. So like you said, it's innovative. It's asking our customers, which one of these things would you want to do first? And then we all know that, we're in Indiana. So my favorite phrase, winter is coming. So we all need to prepare because we all stay in the house mostly. So for us, the experiences that we created, we're ready for the winter. So we really start looking at that. Okay, what do we need supply wise? So I tell people, even thinking about that in terms of your cash flow and your budgeting, and what does that look like that you need to be prepared to get you through the winter. And thinking about, we still have Black Friday, we still have Small Business Saturday, we still have Cyber Monday, and we know that people are going to do most of that shopping online. So are we prepared? So, and that ties to the HOPE program, getting your business ready. What are your digital offerings that you can have prepared in order to be ready to meet the needs? Because really October 1st is next week. So we're hitting the last quarter. So, everyone, figure out how you can get into the HOPE program, get your websites refreshed, start thinking about your planning for, quarter 4 and beyond. Because again, we don't know what the pandemic will look like, in 3 months and 6 months, but how can you really keep a robust online, interactive, and digital services that can then complement anything that you do in person. So, and Kathy, we'll have to talk because we want to do something with books too. So as you see, my background is also books. So I'm in my home office. So, yeah. And so it's just, really, like you said, we'll never go back to the way we were. So innovation is our friend. And I've just been really, really grateful that I've been in people's homes all across the country. And we have a great time. And it's like you said, it's bringing their friends together. Everyone gets delivered the wine to them. We've done birthday parties, bachelorette parties, date nights. So really, everyone, be creative, but take that time to appropriately, if it's mourn, if it's grieve, if it's have a breakdown. I did all of those when COVID first hit. Do that for yourself. And then, like Morgan was saying, the woman was like, I'm going to shut my business down. Try to take a moment to see it from a objective perspective, and maybe go see a small business development coach to walk through some things before you just say, I'm going to just throw all this in the trash and try to go get a job, because that's even harder in this climate than running a business.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I've learned through several companies is that once you work for yourself, you become chronically unemployable. That's at least the way. I mean, it's you're the hardest boss you'll ever have. You'll demand the most from yourself that anybody will ever demand from you, but it's hard to go back to another situation. So how has social media factored into how you dealt with COVID for both of you? I mean, how has it changed what you're doing? Has it allowed you to keep that contact? How have you used social media to address some of the things in COVID?
For me, I actually have people do social media for me who have a similar voice that I have. We are known to be sarcastic and funny on our Twitter, and so that's how that is. Our Instagram, we highlight more authors and different things we're doing in the community, so that happens. And Facebook, I do the Facebook myself because I'm also an educator. I have a degree in education and a degree in library science and a degree in accounting because school, yay. So I do the Facebook page because I have a lot of teacher friends who are on there, so I interact with them. I have a tag resources. So whenever I see a lesson or whatever, I put it on my Facebook page and put resource. I try to think of it as I am a connector. I am trying to connect these clients with somebody else, with something else. It doesn't have to be me, but so putting them first, and what does my customer want? What does my patron need from me right now? Oh, they need to have this because they're at home. Oh, how do we do an online vacation? They need to have this breakout room that's online. They need the instructions, and freely giving those things. I started a fundraiser that is a one-click donation, and we give books to kids from Title I families. We just deliver books to them, so they have books at houses when they're not at school. So we just kind of, and people want that. So I tell them, because in our area we have people who don't want to buy anything, is buy less. Then you don't have to buy that, but give this money so that kid could have something then. So that has been super, super successful for me, which is really wild, is to give away stuff, which then increases what I'm getting. It's kind of like a really awesome thing. So pivoting where I'm thinking more, what do I offer to my community? Who can I collaborate with that, like she's at the cigars, like what don't people see? How can I make this collaboration? So there's a boy who sells clothes. So I'm like, let's do a fashion show. Books have a lot of color in them. Let's do books in matching clothes that people, if you're wearing this, you should have this book with you. And just kind of doing that. So my social media is very active. I'm trying to learn TikTok. Just have only done 2 so far. Trying to get into that. But our Twitter is probably going right at it. I've already put it before I even open, because that's what you're there for, is to add value to your customer.
Nicole,
Yes,
what about
adding
your
value to
Yeah,
your
go ahead.
customer. That is the key. Because I want to go back to your story brand. I love Donald Miller, fan of it. I read the book. I'm actually on his second book now that he has out. And so, and then as the writer in me, it goes back to centering your customer as the hero of the story. And so I think that we often make ourselves and our business the hero, and we're the guide. So how do we guide our customers through, and especially for us, because wine is something that we were not culturally raised with. So wine is something for some people that is very foreign in the Black and brown communities. So for us, it's being the guide to help people find the wine that they love, and also to be able them to be able to ask questions that they wouldn't be able to ask in other spaces that they may not find are safe spaces. And like you said, we collaborate with other Black and brown entrepreneurs. And I'm gonna just throw this plug out here. So this morning, Kathy, an idea came to me, a Sip and Style, which was going to be a fashion show, because all of our wines have words, and all of the wines have a color attached to them. So when you said the books and the color, we want in on your fashion show. So they need to have a bottle and a book in each hand, because my whole
a bottle in the book and
a bottle in the book.
I'm in for that.
Bottle and a
And our
book.
whole company was based on that. Was me coming out of being a writer and my love of words, which is why all of our collection is called the 7-Word Wines. So yes, I know I didn't answer the question you asked at all, Marsh, but that just put me on this path. I'm like,
one thing I do.
You're not the first person, Nicole.
right? I'm like, I don't even know what the question is anymore.
One thing I do at SBDC is I love innovation. So if a client tells me this, like I will go and try to figure out 85 different ways they could do the same business. Like,
yes.
What if you tried this? What if you tried this? Have you tried this? Like, I love doing that. A lot of my clients are retail people, so having a retail store myself, I kind of understand what they're going through. A lot of times they tell you to raise the prices, and that's going to give you more business, but it's actually, in this climate, it's not going to, because people have less money. So how else can you add value? But at the same time, you are running a business. You are not running a charity. You need to make money. Like, you need to be paying yourself. If you cannot afford to pay yourself, you cannot afford to be in business, really. Like, you need to look, not that you have to pay yourself, but you should have that money set aside. I actually, looking at the PPP, that came out this year, you should have been paying yourself because that would have helped you get more on the PPP. So like doing that kind of stuff, making sure, so because I have a bookstore, I buy a product and I can't change the price on books because the price is printed on there. What I can change the price on is mugs, t-shirts, puzzles, things like that, making sure you have these complementary lines and you're not just selling one thing. You sell some other ways that will also bring in money. What can you do? I do a book box, so people get a certain book from me every month. It's like a book of the month, but they know it's going to be inclusive and they know I've read it. So I read a lot, and usually I will send a card that says why I chose this book, like who's in this book, why you will like this book. So just kind of thinking, what else? And story brand, like you said, the hero. Who's the hero? What are the problems that you are trying to solve? And I'm a fan of the business model canvas. And in the business model canvas, you test. And doing these tests, getting information, oh, that worked, that didn't work. Why did that work? How do you even know it worked? Like, people do a lot of Facebook ads, but are they looking at the return on investment, the ROI? What money I'm putting out there, am I getting sales from that? Where are my sales coming from? And how can I then put more into that area where the sales are actually coming from? So which for me right now is Twitter. Twitter is our key to everything. And so when RBG passed away, I made a list of all books, put it on Twitter, and we did that. This summer, we did this list is anti-racist. We put that out. We got a lot of sales that way. And it's like, so whatever's happening, how do I then help people through this moment? Like for me, that's what I feel like the books are for, is to help you through something. How do I connect these people with some resources that will help them through this? And so a lot of that has been Twitter for us.
And I remember the question, social media. I'm sorry, Marsh. I remember the question.
Go ahead. Go.
The social media. I handle a lot of our social media, but I am now at a point where I am about to turn it over to someone else just because of the time that it takes. But I am giving the creative direction. And again, the tone and the tenor has to match, who I am and who, not even just who I am, who the business is as a personality, which is, we are very fun. Like you said, we're very fun. And we're about celebrating the culture, and we're about creating community. So that is, those are our two, fundamental underlying values. That's what we do. And so having someone who can take that, and then being a writer, coming from stage and film and books, I can now lead the creative direction of what I want some of those, that content to look like, because we've been lacking in video, not lacking in ideas, just being able to execute. We had a lot of things lined up when COVID hit. So I think that for us, and recognizing where our audience is, like our Facebook audience, is our older audience. It skews older, and we do get, we do a lot more informational there, and we do get sales out of there that are more of our consumer. But like I said, our Instagram, we get a lot of opportunities, to be on podcasts, to do collaborations with other businesses. That takes place on our Instagram. And our Twitter, we just usually use that for sharing. We really share a lot of other people's information that we see. We champion other winemakers, other Black wine professionals. So for us, that's kind of our
We're
voice.
like the opposite.
Yeah, and we have a TikTok, but I usually just use that for fun and myself. And so, to entertain myself, because when COVID first happened, I spent more time on social media than I probably had in years, and was being able to be more interactive. But we share a lot. Our customers were fortunate. We try to be mindful that what we send, even in our packaging, I remind my team, when you're packaging a box, it has to be Instagrammable, because someone is going to take a photo. They might do an unboxing video. So please be mindful as you're packaging. Yes, exactly. And we have a card, a gratitude card right on front. Like when you open our box, the very
first right there, my glasses match.
Yes. And that is like, and they're like, what? And we just instituted like a tissue paper that's part of our brand coloring. So you get the card, and it's in our brand coloring. Then you get the tissue paper. It also reinforces the brand color you see. And then you get to dig in and go through, and get all your wine out. And that was because, again, our customers showed us that. They were opening the boxes on camera. And I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, these boxes look horrible. What are y'all doing? No, I was like, no. And a real good friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur and works, does community engagement work. She said to me, okay, let's talk through how you want people to unpack your box. And so that's the other thing. Get a community of advisors, 2-3 people who aren't involved in your day-to-day, but you can go and talk to them and get really good advice, and they can help you on specific areas. So just thinking through that again, how our customers view us, how they want to take photos, that has been very, very helpful for us in thinking of how we package and, again, how we think of our social media. Okay, Marsh, I'm done.
We were using a yellow envelope, and we switched to a blue envelope. So when I got my logo done, there were 5 colors that we associated with it that I use for different things, and they each have a number, and I make sure that what I'm doing is using those numbers so the colors match. I'm all about brand. I do actually have 5 color logos so that different colors mean different things, and when you see it, you immediately associate with that. The reason that has the glasses on, because people know me by my glasses. So having that on there, that's going to put my face in front of them just by seeing the glasses in the book. So that's kind of, we also have read books, drink coffee, fight evil. That's the front of our shirt. That is also on the bottom of my emails. It's on the bottom of our website. Like, it's everywhere that you see us. You're going to see, and then you think, oh, okay, that's books, but they're also fighting evil. And everybody knows I love coffee. So just kind of making sure, I think we talked about this a little bit, making sure everything matches. Apple Maps feeds from Yelp. So make sure your Yelp is fixed so that when it's on Apple Map and people look it up, your stuff is fixed there. And then your website and Google My Business, like, there's so many things you should have written down. Your colors, your font, your this, your Google My Business page, like, have these things written down.
Brand style guide. I'm sorry, Kathy,
exactly.
But brand style guide, like, get it done. And there are some resources. IU, since we're talking IU, their School of Design, Heron School of Art, they do take on projects, their students, and do help walk you through a brand style guide. So reach out to them, but get it done. It's really, really crucial, like you said, and knowing your message, because our thing is creating community with wine and cheers to the culture. You are going to see those 2 things when you see us, because we are about creating community with wine and we are about celebrating, the culture. So like you said, what are the pillars you stand on? And I think maybe that's something the SBDC, I would love to see you all create a program that's really about, based on that story brand. You should become a story brand consultant. You should tell them they should pay for you to take that class. I'm sorry, we're way off base. I'm gonna bring it back.
But your story decides what you're doing, though, right? It's like, if you can't write a story and show that this is necessary, don't just open something because you want to do it. I got to tell you, as a person who loves reading, I don't get as much time to read running a bookstore, because running a business is very different than having a hobby. Me reading a book and talking to somebody about it is totally different than talking to people who I don't have a captive audience with. So they're not here every day. So how do I reach that person 60 miles from me, growing up in the conservative area? Like, how do I make that switch with that? So it's like, you have to have that in front of you. And every book I buy, everything I agree to do has to support my mission. It has to support what I'm doing, because that's what I stand for. And as soon as you do something that's outside of what you say you stand for, people will go on that. So you have to make sure you don't take things that are not, like, lifting you up, that are not saying, okay, I think you talked about this, Mars. Was that one of your 10 points, was authenticity?
Yep.
Making your 6 points, authenticity. It's like making sure that it's not just words. Like, are you doing what you say? So I'm in a spot right now, my store is still closed because we are doing a lot of online stuff and I couldn't do both. I'll have the appointments next month, but we have steps. And my mission is to work with underrepresented populations, which also means people with disabilities, both physical and mental. So they can't come here. So we've been looking for a space, because how am I telling people that I can work with you with a physical disability and you can't even get to the store? Like, how is that a thing? So just kind of like really hone it in. That helped me hone in on what I actually meant by what I was saying when I'm building a community. Our Instagram says difficult conversations in a fun place, also books. So because that's what I want to do, is I want to center these conversations around these books, not just have people reading them. Why did we read How to Be an Anti-Racist? Now what does that mean for our community, and how do I help us put this in place so that ultimately we're building a better society for everybody?
I'm gonna hop in here. I am like overwhelmed. This is so amazing. You guys are just incredible. I don't even have to ask the question. I think you've answered a lot of the questions that the folks have asked. So I want to thank you. This has been so much fun. I do want to wrap up a little bit, Kathy. I know one of the questions what is your bookstore? So I think we kind of missed exactly about your bookstore and what it is. We know everything, but the beginning I think is important for folks. And then if you can also, there it is. And I know again that you work with a lot of educators on racism and cultural competency and inclusiveness. So if you could address that, and then if you will, just kind of segue into a little bit about your other job, which I think is just more of a, that may be your hobby, but it's certainly important, the business advisor piece in SBD, because again, this whole journey with us in trying to touch on helping our community, our African-American community and small businesses also, we're very, very inclusive. This initiative wouldn't be possible without our partnership with IEDC and SBDC. So if you will kind of touch on those services too, and I hate to wrap up, a lot of folks are also asking about, are you going to send us a video? Are you going to send us, how do we, and just know that all of our webinars, which are very, very important, I think, to sustainability and startups, are on our site, and that's indianablackexpo.com, and hopefully that answers some of the inquiries from folks. So Kathy, I'm going to let you kind of be the end of the book end. I think there's been a lot of collaborations. I think you guys have another side business hustle going on here. So looking forward to drinking some wine and reading a book. But if you will, just kind of touch on those two things.
Okay, so I'm in South Bend, Indiana. I am down from a place called Howard Park. So it's on Jefferson Street in South Bend, Indiana. And it's called Brainlair Books. And Brainlair is an anagram of librarian, because I have a master's degree in librarian, was a librarian, school librarian for 20 years. One of the things I did as a school librarian is I helped teachers find inclusive materials that match the standards they have to teach. So that if you're always teaching this one book, here's something that's more contemporary that kids will actually read and like to read, and meshing with the same standards that you have to teach here in Indiana. And so my bookstore, that's how I work with teachers and librarians, is we look at their collections and they tell me, here's what I want, and then I find it for them. So they're like, I have a second grade classroom, we're heavy on science, we need more of this, we need more of this. I ask you what your budget is, I go and find the books for you, and that's how that works. I get them delivered to you, we do that. A lot of schools do a one book, one school program. I also pick those for people. I give you a list of 10 books, and then I can also help you come up with the questions you need and to how to like frame this discussion. That was one thing I did. I used to work at the St. Joe Public Library, and when they first did their one book, one school. So I took that, one book, one Michiana, I took that to the schools and started working with our school on putting that into place. Basing it around a theme mostly. Right now, my biggest theme is empathy, because that's something we seem to be missing right now. So I do that also for parents who come in. If kids come in, I usually try to separate kids from their parents. If they say they don't like to read, I sell audiobooks, I sell ebooks, and a lot of times I could hook them on listening to a passage from a book. That's why I say you have to be a reader to own a bookstore, because I cannot recommend something to you that I haven't read. Kids will see right through me. And I'm a young adult children's bookstore. So they will know that I have not read this book. So I asked them 10 questions, and then I usually find 10 books, and we go back and forth like that. I have staple books that I always use because I feel like they're good gateway books. But I am Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQ, and disability friendly. It's what we have here.
Okay.
Was that good?
That was
and then
good.
SBDC. So
Yes.
my director at our North Central ISBDC is Alan Steele. Him and I were doing a session with a program called the Spark program here in South Bend, which I went through to start my business. They help you with a business plan and connect you with different people in the community to help you get started. So he was presenting on cash flow, and he was doing the more theoretical part of cash flow. And I came in to show how I actually do cash flow. How do I buy for the business? What's my budget like? How do I make that work? And kind of matching up together. And so I was telling people I have a degree in accounting. He was looking for a person who has a degree in accounting to add to his team at the Small Business Development Center. And so we got together and I joined the staff. And mostly though, that's what I work with is people who may be struggling financially. Let's look at this. Let's put this budget in. Let's see how that works for you, whether it works for you and stuff like that. So, and we do a lot of stuff though. I'm the Project Hope liaison. So I'm also, everybody who wants to do Project Hope comes through me and our office, and I talk to them first. So I'm also conversant with a lot of different platforms because I like learning things, and we'll use different platforms to figure out stuff, even if I don't plan on using it later. I think, Marcia, talked about that too. Get your website domain, get these domains, even if you don't plan on using them right now. So I do that because I never know who's going to need what when they come in. So I try to make sure I'm looking at different things. We help people get licensed. So if you need help navigating InViz or knowing whether or not you need to go through InViz or your county, we help people with that. We help you with the digital brand. We do that too, and marketing. We will help you look at contracts. If you're trying to get a loan at the bank, we help you make sure you have your financials in charge of that and ready for that. I think the biggest ones for us right now are the Restart grant, and IDO still has a little bit of money, and now people are looking for forgiveness on the PPP. So we help you navigate all of those things. If you got turned down for IDO and it's within 6 months, we could help you write a reconsideration letter for that. We do a lot of stuff. I mean, it's one thing I love because I like to be busy and I like to know different things. I'm very nosy, and having these clients with all these cool different business ideas and trying to figure out how I can help them get to the next level. It's just like, that's something I'm made to do. I love it very much. It's like one of my favorite jobs, but we can help you with almost anything. And if we can't help you, we have resources in the community that we could send you to. So if people are struggling between if they need to do a sole proprietor or if they want to do an LLC, we have some accountants that we can send you to help you walk through that, besides giving you information from a website. We have access to marketing research that most people don't have access to. So we can go and drill down to, these are the people who live around you. This is how much money they have. This is how much money they spent on this kind of thing. This is how much money they spend on that kind of thing, which you don't have access to normally. We could tell you, these are businesses that are just like yours. Here's how they're performing, and where do you fit in with that? We help you with the business plan. We do a simple business plan. I mean, we do pretty much a lot of stuff, and it's free. That's one of the big things, is like everything we do for you,
Free
however
is
many
the key.
hours it takes, it's free.
Yes, yeah. It is free. Free is the key to SBDC. I just came up with the rhyme for you guys, actually. I do want to thank everyone again. Marsh, he's become my ride and die in case anyone doesn't know. Of course, Marsh is our consultant on the marketing side, and he's been doing a fantastic job. And he finally came from behind the scenes to participate in one of the webinars that he's been driving so many times. So again, thank you, Marsh, and you guys. I mean, this has been one of my funnest webinars. I got to tell you, this has been an absolute blast. And I commend you on your journeys as small business owners. And again, I always tell folks, there's nothing better for our attendees to hear from the horse's mouth, if you will. And you guys have just shared so much information, and we've got everyone asking for the webinar. And again, so it's always out there for folks to see and hear and replay, because you can't hear it enough of what those ideals are. And so again, I just want to thank all of you guys, and I know Morgan has left, but I'd like to thank Morgan also for participating in today's session. We're going to continue to try to add webinars that help our community. And Kathy, I may actually have you back for the other one, because I know when we started talking about this, we actually were talking about business formation and structures. And I know that's one of your expertise also. So this concludes our webinar. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Thank you guys for participating and adding so much value. And again, we have all additional resources about SBDC and anything that small businesses might be interested in, or even startup businesses. So thank you all, you guys also very much for participating. And I look forward to sipping and sharing wine and reading a book. So thank you guys, and have a great day, everyone.